A Tale of the C.O.O.L. by J.R. Croft. Narrated by Joe Ravenscroft. Copyright 2018. J.R. Croft. Chapter 1.
Murray Day sat twirling his etching pens as he always did when he was nervous. His feet were nervous too, tapping the floor like scrambling squirrels. As the chief officer of leaks, he had many reasons to be nervous because when you spend most of your life underwater, you have to be ready for leaks. And Murray Day was in charge of all of them. At last count, the agency estimated that Murray had 947 reasons to be nervous, and each of them had one single job: to find a leak, fix it, and move on. Leaks agents were a wild bunch, high-strung and misbehaved, but who else would do what they did? They never stopped working because water never stopped leaking. In its constant assault on their underwater world, the unrelenting fluid dripped, trickled, dribbled, and poured in. Water invaded everything and everywhere, the lodges, the submarines, the outposts, and the everything else. But the leaks agents fought back, plugging, plastering, stuffing, and stopping the persistent molten ice wherever it appeared. The feathers at the ends of the pens danced in the air, and their motion had a calming effect on the little rodent. Murray's inspection tour of the Great Green Lake was almost over, and so was his career. Barring any major catastrophes, he'd soon be walking out the door and into a new chapter of life. As he glided through the iridescent green waters, he pored over the notes of his last inspection, sitting in his booth in the cabin of the Onyx, a sleek submarine carved from a black walnut tree. The cabin glowed with a soft yellow-green radiance so common to the underwater world. Candlebugs gathered in the wall sconce above Murray's seat and became enchanted by the wavering feathers. Some that hovered above him fell into trance and forgot to flap their wings, falling out of the air and bouncing off his head. They woke up in mid-bounce, caught themselves, and darted off down the aisle to trade places with others working in the ceiling lights. Murray hardly noticed the shining flies. His mind was too busy worrying about his next inspection and the end of his career. He had many memories, some fond, others difficult, and he would not miss the stress of being the chief officer of leaks. But as he gazed out the portal next to his booth, he knew there was one thing he would miss: traveling in the magnificent submarine he'd grown so accustomed to. The Onyx was a masterpiece of artistic expression, moving with a swift grace that no other submarine possessed. The elegant vessel was a traveling office for those who oversaw the leaks agency's operations, and, for planning and communications, it rivaled the main office in Dark Island Terminal. It was designed for comfort as well, for officers who traveled in the sub often were on board for several days at a time, so the small bedrooms along each side of the cabin and the cafe lounge in the upper tier made the vessel feel just like home. Wherever the Onyx went, citizens gathered to marvel at her stunning beauty. They especially admired the ornate carvings that adorned the outside and inside of her hull, and were astonished by the cabin's serenity. "Would you like some more tea, sir?" Leandra asked. She was Murray's personal assistant, a petite creature who was dedicated to her job and her boss. Beside her stood Thomas, a small turtle a little over twice her size, an oval tabletop strapped to his shell. On the table were snacks, a wooden teapot, a tiny notepad of birch bark sheets, and some extra sharpened etching pens, lying in a stand made from polished twigs. "Thanks, Leandra, I would," Murray said. Leandra filled Murray's cup and placed it on a wooden saucer. "Well, what do you know?" Murray said, trying to sound cheerful and worry-free. "Did you realize I only have 2 more days until I retire?" "Yes, sir, I did," Leandra said, putting the saucer on Murray's table. "You've told me twice already. And what do you know? Did you realize you still haven't read through the first draft of your retirement speech?" Murray squirmed in his seat.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?